Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'm sharing 3 cards focusing on products from the Gilded Autumn suite as part of my Stamping Sunday blog hop cards. I hope you'll enjoy them. Let's get to the creating. For this first card, I'm going to be using Loyal Leaves, and we're going to be making a monochromatic card. I've got one of the very vanilla cards from the note cards and envelopes, and my mint macaron ink pad. Let me just give it a little squeeze here to transfer some ink. Maybe another little squeeze. There we go. And I've got a water painter here. Both of these can be found in the Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog and my store. And we're going to just make a kind of messy watercolor background on this. Okay. And I'm going to give it a blot in case I've gotten it too damp. And then we need to let that dry. So you can set it aside and let it dry by itself, or you can use your heat tool to dry that. Now, if you didn't get this very wet, it won't take but a minute or two to dry. And now I've got one of the leaves from Loyal Leaves, and I'm just going to tap on ink. And I think the long narrow bit is the top of the leaf. It will be for this card. And then let's set those aside. Oops. Oh, still need my ink. That's okay. Now I've got my Stamparatus for this next bit because I want to be able to stamp the sentiment multiple times to deepen the shade. Remember, we're doing a monochromatic card, so I've got a grid sheet that I give to all of my customers that buy a Stamparatus with me. I provide them with several grids that they can use to get even more use from their Stamparatus. And now let me ink this. That seems upside down and backwards to me. So let's do that again. Another reason to check your sentiment stamps before you stamp them. Okay. Now I'm pretty sure that's not straight this time, but we'll fix that on the grid sheet. So let's pop that down. And this end is just a smidge high. So we're going to move that. And there we go. We are straight, so I'll take that out. And now we'll ink once and stamp. And then I'm going to ink that one more time to just deepen that a little bit. Don't press on the plate too hard. You don't want to make the letters spread. Okay, let's take our card out. And then we're going to finish with a strip of the Gilded Autumn specialty paper. This is also in mint macaron, and can you see the copper foiling on that? This is really gorgeous paper. Half of one side of each piece has a foiled design on it. Okay, and we're just going to put this strip right down here at the bottom. Super easy card with just a tiny bit of technique with that watercolor background. So let's set this aside and move on to the next card. For this second card, we'll also be using Loyal Leaves for the stamping portion. And we're stepping this one up from simple stamping to casual card making, and that's not because it's hard, but because we're going to be doing several things with the Stampin' Cut emboss machine. And as a simple stamper or someone new to stamping, you may not have decided to purchase a die cutting machine yet. So our sentiment is thank you. And then I need to cut that out. And for that, I'm going to use the little treat box dies. I don't know if you've noticed, there are 3 tag dies in here, and I'm going to be using this smaller one. And then also while I'm away, I'm going to be using the Wreath Builder dies to cut some cardstock and copper foil. I'll be right back. Okay, so we have our die cut sentiment here. Can you notice the little stitching and of course the scalloped edge? And then my die cut Wreath Builder pieces. I've got Pool Party, copper foil, and mint macaron. And then also while I was away, I used this wrapped in texture embossing folder on a piece of Very Vanilla. Can you see the great texture on this? So let's bring our card base in, which is thick Very Vanilla. And then I've got a piece of the Gilded Autumn specialty designer paper. Now this is the reverse side of the piece that we used on our first card. And I've got a strip of early espresso. So let's start by putting our embossed piece down. And we're coming right over to the edge with this. So lining up is super easy. This piece runs top to bottom as well, so you're not leaving any border. And then we're going to adhere this piece to the designer paper first. So let me run a bead of adhesive on that. And we're just looking for a narrow bit of the early espresso as an accent. Whoops, I've just pulled it away. Make sure we're... Oh, I've trimmed my designer paper wider. I measured poorly. So what we're going to do is put my adhesive here and here, and lay this down. Make sure that I'm straight top and bottom. Okay. And then I can take my paper snips and come across the back here. Wow, I was way off. I thought I was just a smidge off with my measuring. Does that ever happen to you? I know I say measured twice and cut once, and sometimes I'm still not accurate. So that's okay, because I've got a strip of beautiful paper to use on another creation. So next let's put our wreath together, and I'm just going to dot on some of the multi-purpose glue around on this mint macaron piece that's going on the bottom. And then we're going to turn this so that we see mint macaron peeking out. Give it a... And then we'll do the same thing and dot around on the copper. And add our pool party bit. And again, I'm going to turn the leaves just enough so that you can get a glimpse of everything going on here. They don't have to be perfectly lined up. They can be a little, I call it cattywampus, so one pulled a little to the right and the other pulled a little to the left so that you get all of the lovely color and texture that goes on here. And then I've got my mini Stampin' Dimensionals. I've got a spot of glue here, so I want to pick this up carefully and not put it back down in that glue. So we're going to put mini dimensionals, many of the mini dimensionals around on the back of this to give it good support. Okay, and again I'm going to pick this up carefully just in case. I had not glued it to my paper. Yay. Some days I'm just the messy card maker. I don't know about if that happens to you. I have days that I've got ink all over my fingers and messy with the adhesive, and just gives us an opportunity to be more creative if we get a little schmeg on our cards. I know there's still one here. Okay. And I am setting this a little pulled to the right on purpose. Okay, let's brush some of this out of the way, and we'll thread our tag with some linen thread. My linen thread's a bit of a mess. I pulled the wrong piece to start it, and so I've got a loop waiting for me to catch up to where it is. I'm going to cut these just a little shorter. Okay. Now I'm not really tying these, I'm just using my glue dot to put this down and make it look like I've got this bit. And then I'm going to add some loopy bits of linen thread on the top here. I think I've gone back and forth 3 times, and then we're going to tie it off in a minute. I want to cut a small bit of this basket weave ribbon. It's in mint macaron. Let me use a glue dot to hold this. I can wind that back up easily enough, but I want to cut this apart a little bit and have just a couple little pieces of that. It's got really nice texture. Okay, so we're going to do those 3 back and forth smallish loops. Holding those with our fingers, we're going to work these in to just give it a little more something going on. Wrap it around my finger. And then if you want to see this in slow motion, I do have a One Simple Trick video for that. I will try to remember to link this above in the video so that you can just click on that. Okay, and then we're going to touch this a little bit so that it frays. Let's see. Pulls apart easily enough. Okay, now it's not really tied. This is just a faux bow, and this is where we do need to go back and pick up a couple of those mini glue dots. It'll help it not only stick to our sentiment tag down here, but it will keep it from coming apart. Now let's come right in here and trim that. And we look like our cute little tag is tied on. And that is card number 2, our casual stamping card. So let me get this all cleaned up and we'll be back for another. Okay, and for this last card, we're going to switch it up a bit and use the Celebrate Sunflowers bundle, which has the Celebrate Sunflowers stamp set and then the sunflower dies. And as you know, when you purchase as a bundle, you receive a discount versus buying the stamps or dies separately. I've got scrap paper and a piece of Very Vanilla. And let's grab my sunflower stamp here and my mint macaron. And I'm just going to stamp a random pattern of the sunflowers, covering much of this. Whoops. Okay. And then I think we'll get one more down here along this edge. Okay, now let's move this out of the way. And I've got my pool party, and we're just going to give that a squeeze. And my water painter. So we're sort of back where we started for that simple stamping card, adding a little bit of watercolor. And I'm sticking with shades that worked with the Gilded Autumn paper. And I just want to lightly brush this in. And as long as you give this just a second to dry, the mint macaron that is, you get some of this lovely blue. I want to turn this because I really want to sweep this direction. And then the same thing. This is a quick and easy way to color these. And the mint macaron and pool party work beautifully together because they're sort of two tones that are very similar. Okay, so we need to give this a second to dry. And again, you can speed that up with your heat tool. I'm going to give this a quick, just little blot with my napkin to pick up any possible excess liquid. There really shouldn't be any because my brush was barely damp. So I'll be back once this is dried and we'll move right along. Okay, I'm back and our piece has been embossed with this wrapped in texture embossing folder, and as you can see it has a fabric woven-like quality. Now these are narrower embossing folders. You can't fit the whole layer in, so you're going to have to emboss most of it and then move the embossing folder over to emboss the other half. And it's very easy to place this in and line up the design. So let's set these things out of the way. We need a sentiment for our card, and that is also from Celebrate Sunflowers. And we're just inking in mint macaron. That's just looking backwards to me today. Guess I'm having trouble reading. There we go. So let's close this up. And we'll want to begin to put our pieces together. So I have this piece we stamped, painted, and embossed. And then I've got a layer of mint macaron. And we're going to adhere these together directly instead of using dimensionals. because the mint macaron was cut to have a narrow mat. Okay. And then let's bring in our thick Very Vanilla base, and we're going to do the same thing with our multi-purpose glue and adhere this directly to the card base. Again, we have just a narrow border left, and so you get the full visual impact of those narrow borders when you don't use the dimensionals. Okay, and then next I want to bring my trimmer in, and we're going to trim this piece of Very Vanilla. Oops, make sure that I've got it in here straight. And then I want to hold the platen to make sure it doesn't move. And then I want to trim just a smidge off the bottom. Okay, that's better. Let's move this out of the way. And I've cut a copper sunflower using the Celebrate sunflower dies, and some greenery pieces cut from mint macaron. All of these used the Celebrate sunflower dies, so we're going to add a little adhesive to the back of these and put them down about here, and then take this pair and do the same thing. Little bit of adhesive on the back, and we're just going to link them up and then use our sunflower over top. You'll notice that I've added dimensionals to keep the center in that normally you would just pop out of your die cut. And we're just going to adhere just that center piece and let the rest be loose. Okay, let's sweep this out of the way and close my glue for just a moment. Let's put dimensionals on the back of our sentiment. And place this here while we add our next pieces. Okay, before we finish the front, I just spotted this piece of the Gilded Autumn designer paper that cut off from my last card, was an excess piece, and we're going to use that on the inside of this card, just leaving that narrow strip to show, and that makes a pretty accent on the inside and brings all of those colors in from the front. Okay, so now we have our sentiment back to finishing, and then we have this mint macaron basket weave ribbon that's part of a combo pack. There's a gorgeous copper ribbon in this as well, and we're just cutting a loop. I'm going to say that might be 2 inches, and using a glue dot to adhere it together, and then we'll put a glue dot behind, and I've got a glue dot on my thumb, which won't be helpful. Okay, so let's pull our dimensional backings off here, and pull my loop up that wants to stick. So I'm going to put the first dimensional down and then hold this while I tuck this in, And it's just a little accent loop over on this side. The card didn't need much, but a little something more was good. And then, whoops, we're going to finish it with some champagne rhinestones to accent the copper sunflower that we've got going on. And just a little more bling won't go amiss on this card. Let's come up here. Oops. Using my Take Your Pick tool to pick up my rhinestones. And spacing of this third one is always a trick for me. I think that'll do it. So there is our third and final card for today. Thank you for stopping by. Give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the cards. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring the bell if you would like to be notified the next time I upload a video. And if you've got card making friends, by all means, please share today's video with them. Bye. This was Sara Levin, the Artful Inker.